So the first tip is to think like an architect, not like a technician. Now, what the hell does this mean? Well, basically when we're learning to code, there is a bit of a tendency to start getting into the weeds a bit too much. So there's often a lot of imposter syndrome when you're a beginner with learning to code. Like you feel like there's so much to know, but you just don't know enough. So then the solution we often come to is that we just want to try to dive into all of the details, to just try to learn everything and know everything so that we can get over this imposter syndrome. But there's actually a big mistake that often happens here, because let's say you're being asked to use the OS library in Python. When you first use it, you just import the library and you start to use all of these different functions and all these different methods and things that are in the library. There's often a tendency, at least I had this when I was starting, is I was sort of anxious because I didn't understand all of these functions, because I didn't understand all of the things that the OS library do and like how they actually work at a deep level. Now, there can be value to learning all of those things, but when you start coding, you start to realize that often you just don't really need to know these things. As long as you know how to use the OS library and use it correctly, then it doesn't really matter how all of these details work under the hood. If you think of building a house, the architect who decides the general layout of the house, what rooms is it gonna have, where are the walls gonna go, and all these kind of things. But the architect doesn't focus on the actual minute details of how to screw the door into place, or like how to technically put the pipes into the house or something like that. And when you're making a program, you should focus more of your time on this architect level decision making, on just making the decisions about what you're going to build and how is it going to work in the big picture. For example, rather than focusing on the minute details of the syntax of how to create an API, you want to just focus on understanding the principles of how an API works, what it means, and when to use it. Because the thing is, when you actually need to create an API, you can always go and look up the details and the syntax that you might not remember anytime you need to. And today that's true more than ever because we have AI, we have ChatGPT. As anytime you're coding anything, if you can just describe, just in English, precisely what you want to build, you can just give that description to AI, and the AI can probably give you at least a very good starting point on the actual technician level details of just what lines of code you need to write and things like this. Now, of course, you still need to know the syntax as well. You need to know a lot of details as well, but the details that you actually need will sort of do naturally when you just code a lot of projects, when you just go to the detail, when you have the architecture together and you need to tweak the code, you sort of naturally end up remembering all the syntax once you have coded an API 10 times or something like that. But spending time on being a technician, of worrying and obsessing about memorizing the syntax, is just going to waste you time, and it's going to make you learn slower rather than learning the big picture about how to architect program and thinking like an architect. And the second strategy is to develop T-shaped coding skills. Again, what the hell do I mean? Well, this is an idea that I got from Elon Musk. And what it basically means is a lot of knowledge in one particular field and a substantial amount of knowledge in many other disciplines and topics. So basically, in terms of coding, you can look at the entire spectrum of coding, from mobile development to backend development to front-end development to cybersecurity. And then what you want to do is sort of dabble yourself in a lot of these different areas so you have a good understanding of all the things that are out there. And then you want to pick one area that's going to be like the trunk of the T that you go really, really deep in and you really, really specialize in. Why is this a good strategy? Well, a lot of the time in the professional environment, you want to be specialized in one thing. You want to be specialized simply because if you're not specialized in anything, in any given area, in any kind of developer role, there are going to be people that are going to be specialized in that thing, and those people are going to simply be better in that area. So you want to be specialized, but at the same time, also what happens in the professional environment, especially let's say you're a web developer and you're a backend developer, you might be asked, it's going to be very useful for you to also understand at least the basics of front-end development, of DevOps, of databases, just so that you can understand sort of what the other people in your team are doing. In my job, I was mainly a backend developer, but sometimes I would be asked to do front-end things. So if I didn't have any knowledge about front-end development, I would not have been as competent of a developer. And this is also useful because when you're a beginner, you don't really know what you enjoy. You don't know if you're more a front-end person or a back-end person or a DevOps person. So you want to sort of learn the lay of the land, learn the basics of a couple of areas, like dabble a bit, and then once you know what you really like, then really go all in and specialize specialize in one niche of programming. And these days, one of the top areas for programmers to specialize in is data science and AI. Companies are investing heavily on data and AI, which means more and more opportunities for data scientists, data analysts, and data engineers. And to learn these skills, I recommend you check out Datacamp. Datacamp offers a comprehensive library of courses on data science, programming languages such as Python, SQL and R, AI and machine learning, business intelligence, and much more. They're used by 5,000 plus companies and 80% of the Fortune 1000, and what makes them so popular is the Datacamp learning method. First, you start with an assessment of your coding skills to identify gaps in your skills, and based on your assessment results, you'll be able to find relevant courses among their portfolio of 500 plus video courses in data science and AI to fill those gaps. And what I really like about these courses is that they're super interactive and hands-on, with no need to install anything on your computer. And after that, you can practice your new skills and build confidence with their real-life projects in Python, SQL, R, and much more. At the end of it, you can complete Datacamp's certification program to become a certified data analyst, data scientist, or data engineer. They also offer many other things like personalized resume reviews, interview prep, and much more to help you get hired. You can get started today and join more than 14 million learners worldwide by clicking my link down below in the description. Thank you for Datacamp for sponsoring this video. And now let's move on with the video. Strategy number 3 is to become a gym bro. Now, what the hell does this mean, Thomas? Well, let me explain. After a while on my own learning to code journey, I started to realize that learning to code actually has a lot of similarities to building muscle at the gym. What often happens is that you start learning to code and you make a lot of these newbie gains when you're in the beginning, you're first learning the first bit of syntax in Python and you're learning sort of how programming works, a lot of these basics. You make a lot of progress at the beginning because there is so much to learn. But at some point, these newbie gains will end. And if you want to keep making progress, you have to change your strategy. And this is very similar to what happens when you're training muscle at the gym. You make a lot of newbie gains. It seems like no matter what you do at the gym, if you're just lifting any kind of weight, even if you're doing everything completely wrong, but at some point, these newbie gains will end, and if you want to keep making progress, you need to adopt something that's called progressive overload. What that means is that you need to become very deliberate on progressively increasing the weights that you're lifting at the gym and like really meticulously tracking what you're lifting. And every session you want to be trying to lift a bit more than you lifted last time, because this will get your body to the right zone of where you're really challenging your body, but not too challenging where it's so heavy that you can't even lift it, and not too easy that your body just won't make any progress because you're not challenging it enough. When you're learning to code, after these newbie gains, you kind of have to do the same thing. You want to start coding a lot of projects, but it's not enough to just code projects. You want to be coding increasingly difficult projects. You can't just keep coding a tic-tac-toe game like 10 times in a row and think you're going to keep improving. You're going to get really good at building tic-tac-toe games, but at some point you need to start adding something more challenging, which could simply mean taking that tic-tac-toe game and improving its UI, or adding a server that tracks the scores for the game. And then after that, you want to build something else, ideally something that builds on the skills that you already have as a programmer, but then challenges you to do something slightly different. Maybe now you're adding a database, or you're adding an API and you're going and fetching data from the internet or something like that. And over time, as you keep adding these new pieces, over time, through this progressive overload and thinking like a gym bro when you're learning the code, will increase your learning progress so much over just doing the same thing over and over again. The fourth strategy is to practice deep work. And this is crazy to me, but there's still people who just don't do all of their work and all of their learning with this one strategy. The way your brain works is that when you're working, by far the hardest part that's going to take most mental effort is getting started. Because once you get started, very quickly your brain will enter what's called the flow state. That's essentially that state of mind where you're just working, you're just fully focused in your coding project or your course or whatever, and time just sort of flies by without you even noticing because you're so focused. But then if you allow your mind to be distracted, you allow yourself to fall out of that flow state, then you need to do all of that mental effort again to get started with the flow state again. And that's just very, very inefficient. So it baffles me how there's still people who will be coding and have their phone next to them, which, by the way, currently I have my phone next to me, but don't do what I do what I say. You get a text from Jane, some girl you're seeing who you think likes you. You will just hear it and you will immediately now switch your focus to that notification, which will take you out of that flow state. Of course, that never happens because Jane never actually texts you because she doesn't actually like you, but your mom is probably texting you and you're just allowing yourself to be distracted. I can't believe that people are doing this because this is so inefficient. Because if you just tell yourself, I'm gonna have 2 1-hour sessions, like just 2 1-hour sessions every single day where I will not allow myself to be distracted from my work. Within those 2 hours, I'm telling you, you will get more done than someone else not doing this deep work technique will get done in like 6 hours or like even 2 weeks. Because in their work sessions, they never get to the flow state for long enough to actually make progress. And strategy number 5 is to fall in love. And no, I'm not talking about falling in love with Jane. Trust me, she's not worthy. I mean, Jane doesn't like you anyway, let's be honest. She will love you, however, once you show her your badass coding skills they're gonna learn after watching all the videos on my channel. Just kidding, she's just gonna think you're a nerd. Anyway, what I mean is falling in love with the process of learning to code. So in general, there's 2 things that you need when you're learning to code. You need discipline, which I simply define as the ability to do the thing even when you don't want to. And number 2, you need to actually enjoy the process, which will actually make you want to do the thing. Now, you need both of these things because you're never gonna always want to do it. There are going to be times when you just don't want to do it, when it's just difficult, and you're gonna need the discipline to push through anyway. But in the long run, if you never like it, or if you just don't enjoy coding at all, like you completely hate it, you're simply not going to have enough discipline to keep you going for long enough. So really in the long run, you're going to need to fall in love with either the process of learning to code or the actual act of coding and you just really enjoy it because of the intellectual challenge or whatever. Or, and this might be controversial, but it's also very fine to just fall in love with the goal. Let's say you just have a goal of getting the very high salary that you can get with software engineering or programming, and you love the process of learning the code precisely because you're so excited about the end goal and you're so driven to get to that end goal. Whatever you can use as your motivation, you should use it and you should not feel ashamed about it. The more you can make the process fun, like something that you just genuinely enjoy, the more you're going to be able to get yourself to do that work and do those deep work sessions every single day. And this can just be in choosing to build projects. And again, projects are the best way to learn. But choosing projects that you actually want to build. Let's say there's a problem that you have in your life, like you cannot find a workout app that has all the features that you need. Just give yourself the challenge of building that app yourself. And as part of making the process fun, if you're a beginner and you're not even at the stage where you can build projects yet, it's crucial that you choose the right course that is actually going to make you excited about coding. There's so many courses and programs out there that are taught by some 90-year-old professor, for example, university degrees, that's just going to make you completely bored of coding, and they're so uninspiring that it's going to make you hate the process. Now, I've either completed or started like 40 plus coding courses in my life, and I've seen some very terrible ones and also some very amazing ones that have truly made me love and be so excited for coding. And in this video right here, I review the best ones that I have found, the best coding courses, both free ones, affordable ones, and more premium ones, so that based on your budget level, you can just choose the right course and program for you. So go watch that video next, choose your path, and start coding right now.